Welcome to the Manic Pixie Burn Book narrated video, where I offer a commentary track over the book. We start with Kirsten Dunst on the cover, who is a Hollywood icon of the 2000s. She has appeared on her fair share of indie movies, and film critic Nathan Rabin actually first used the term Manic Pixie Dream Girl to describe her character in the 2005 movie Elizabethtown, directed by Cameron Crowe. Crowe also happens to be the director of Almost Famous, which is here under notable mentions alongside Garden State, 500 Days of Summer, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, and Eternal Sunshine of a Spotless Mind. All of these movies are independent productions written and directed by men, which is not surprising. I would like to highlight that Garden State and Almost Famous are semi-autobiographical. I find it particularly funny that Zach Braff wrote, directed, and starred in this movie. It really goes to show how much he wholeheartedly believed in the story. Kirsten Dunst's character Claire appears here as a general representation of a manic pixie dream girl. The key idea here is that she's obviously beautiful, but in the most understated way. In fact, all manic pixies have this kind of childish look to them. There's always some type of headgear involved or crazy hair. They're kind of eccentric, but in a social, normative, and conventionally attractive way. We can see those patterns here. You may have noticed by now all of these characters are in their 20s. They're also white and thin. But don't be disheartened if you don't fall under these categories, as this book shows you exactly how to be a manic pixie dream girl. The first step is to achieve the look. In addition to the petite stature, it's important that manic pixie has exactly that, pixie features. This means doe eyes, heart-shaped face, rosy cheeks, and a pretty smile. It also helps if you can be found anywhere on the scale between teenage girl and primary school teacher. See, I don't think there is a more accurate way of defining these characters, and it truly says a lot about the type of fantasies that these men have. Moving towards step 2, in short, an MPDG must be the embodiment of sunshine. She has no inhibitions, and why would she? I would like to mention that the manic pixies have a tendency to appear isolated from other women. Even when you find them interacting with other female characters, they're notably on another level. In Scott Pilgrim, we see the worst scenario where we actually have knives hate Ramona, but even in the other films, there are very few instances of friendship between the MPDG and other female characters. But I guess this establishes that they don't really need friends, as long as they have the protagonist. The protagonist, which by the way is always significantly less interesting than she is. Most of them have corporate jobs, they're unhappy and depressed. Which makes you think, what good could the protagonist possibly do in their lives? All MPDGs seem perfectly content, so why the need for charity? I actually don't know the answer to that. However, writers have gotten away with feeding us this content for decades, making us believe that it's normal for a woman to settle because, manic pixie dream girls don't have problems. They absorb all the male lead's problems and carry their baggage and remain content, right? There's a dramatic change of tone in this point of the book. I think that the build-up to this page has quite accurately painted the picture that the manic pixie dream girl just isn't real. She might have been written by a real person, based on a real person, but she's a fantasy. The MPDG is truly no different to a Bond girl. She is fruit of the male gaze. And surely enough, she is lovable. In fact, I wanted to be exactly like that growing up. But now as an adult, I see that as the need to be accepted in a male-centered world, an individuality complex, and wanting to be different to other girls, to be special. I love this quote, "Hell is a teenage girl." It actually comes from the 2009 movie Jennifer's Body, which contrastingly is about a girl being possessed and feeding on teenage boys. But I just think that young women are so overlooked and undermined. The only reason that these movies are still relevant is because teenage girls have given them that relevance. But I do think that we're becoming aware of how important our experiences as women are, and we're starting to make movies about them. About Greta Gerwig's movie Lady Bird, it has been said that it spins the MPDG trope on its head, using an extremely flawed female protagonist and introducing the concept of manic pixie dream boy. I can't speak on the accuracy of that, but I will say that I love the film. I love how it shows a girl with real flaws, not a girl who's adorably clumsy or nerdy and into sci-fi or has weird hair. It's the female character who is actually allowed to mess up. But of course there's still such a long way to go when it comes to female representation. I didn't pick these images on a whim. It was important for me to include women of colour because it's impossible to make any type of commentary and call it feminist if it's not intersectional. The purpose of these final pages is to highlight girl power and girls' sports and girls because I think it's the best way to fight against discrimination and sexism. It's honestly bittersweet to rewatch these movies because at the same time that I feel comforted by these characters that I long to be like, I now recognise the reason I wanted to be just like them in the first place. And as Clementine says so well, I'm just a girl looking for my own peace of mind, don't assign me yours.